Hey, it's David here in Best, near Eindhoven in the Netherlands, and we're in the home gym of my fellow competitor, Wesley Withers. Thank you for having us.
No problem, of course.
And yeah, we're going right into the interview, and I think Wesley is maybe the most classic of all of us.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, very impressive. We just did a training, and he hit some poses, and I'm very impressed. He looks very fresh and young and healthy and classic. So, yeah, like a breath of fresh air in the bodybuilding world.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And I'm kind of looking forward to meet him in Las Vegas next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
And also, I'm kind of afraid what package he's going to bring. So, Wesley, when did you start bodybuilding? Why did you start? How did you start?
Well, when I was 14 and officially 13, I started bodybuilding, but back then it was still like weightlifting, just working on the machines, only machines.
But because you wanted to do bodybuilding, or because you wanted to get stronger for other?
Well, I actually wanted to be bigger because my dad was always a big guy in my mind as a small kid. And I was very skinny when I started. So I was tall, almost as tall as I'm now when I was 13, but very skinny, like literally half of my body weight almost. So I wanted to be bigger, and I also watched like Superman and comics, and I always wanted to be like them. So knowing that my father actually already trained at the gym and he worked with weights, I was finally allowed to work out at a gym, and the legal age was 14, but we already went there at 13. So I felt very amazing that was possible.
Thanks to that. Right?
But then I started, well, first actually, I simply did the machines, but I didn't like it as much because it was effort. I was like, oh, this is harder than I thought. But once you see the progress, when you see the muscles that you're actually building, then it starts to become a lot more fun. Then you're like, oh.
Bodybuilding is not like, I think, not like football or tennis, where you enjoy the process itself, but not as much. At least it's more about the success and difference you start to see, and then it really kicks in.
Exactly. Then you start to love the process because you know it in the end result will be more muscle mass, what your goal is. And of course, getting stronger was very fun to me as well. So at the beginning, it was like a combination of getting my strength up on each exercise, which was a big goal for me. Every single time I worked out, I wanted to become stronger, and also automatically I became bigger. So for my age, I became quite big because, without knowing it, because I had the genetics from my father, because he was also a big guy from just working out in the gym without even being super strict with a diet or anything. I didn't have a diet at all. I just ate what my mom made me and some regular sandwiches with peanut butter and not really knowing what protein was, and still made some quite good gains. So
but you did not really just train into the blue. You had you knew the principles.
Yes, my dad taught me the principles right from the beginning, so I knew what full range of motion was. And the reason why I started with the machines is because I had to know, okay, if I do this motion, that's going to work the chest. So to feel the chest instead of just moving back and forth, I had to know, okay, the chest has to do the work. So when I knew that was the case, I could do dumbbell presses to know that the chest is the muscle that's working. So right from like 14, 15, I already knew what mind-muscle connection was.
And you knew about progression, that you have to get stronger.
Yeah, but even though I didn't even have to be conscious about it because I got stronger automatically, I simply wanted to do heavier every single time. So I think that is what a lot of people have to think about more, not overcomplicate it, but just go to the gym, have fun, stick to basic exercises and become stronger on those. And then for years you will make progress.
Yeah, you are glad, or you are glad to have that like that, because nowadays most guys that start, I think they're overwhelmed. They'll watch on YouTube and this guy is saying this, and there's something new over there, and they are distracted too much. And
exactly.
You had somebody who told you go this way and you're fine.
Yeah, I'm very lucky with that. When I started, YouTube I don't think it existed back then, or it wasn't even popular. So you couldn't.
I think YouTube started 2007.
Yeah, so it was right around that time. Right before that, I started working out. So I didn't even know that you could even look up videos for it. So I had to be taught by someone who was experienced. So I was very lucky that was the case.
So when did you decide to do like more than just going to the gym, getting stronger for whatever reason? When did you decide to go on stage and become a professional? Or
well, I never actually thought about being a bodybuilder out of myself, but until someone, when I started to work out at a more serious gym in a bigger city, some actual bodybuilders were training there who already did contests, and one of them told me, "Why aren't you going to compete? Because you look great." And I didn't even know I looked good for my age or for my height or for even being a bodybuilder. So, but then he showed me a show that I could do and examples of people who actually did that show last year. And I was like, well, I can beat those guys. If I look like this on stage, I could already beat those. So I then decided after asking my parents if I could do it, because I really was very new to the entire bodybuilding on stage. So they said, of course you can do it. Why not give it a shot? So then when I was 20 years old, so after 6 or 7 years of training, I decided to do that show. And the guy who actually asked me if I wanted to do it told me he would be my coach if I decided to do it. So he kind of coached me for that show, and then I won that first show. And of course, when you win, you want to do it again and win again. So that's when I started to fall in love with being on stage and being in front of a crowd and doing your thing and just showing your hard work.
That's interesting. It's a very different story than mine, because when I started at age 15, I already knew I wanted to go on stage. I want to become a pro. I want to win a Miss Olympia and everything. Yeah, when I was 15, so I had my goals, and then I had to look how to get there.
Yeah.
And you fell up the stairs.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I got there by accident, basically. That's why I always advise people, just enjoy working out first, because like you are a very driven person, you're very disciplined, so you had a goal, but you also knew, okay, I have to do this and this and this to get there. Some people who just start out think, I want to be a professional bodybuilder, without knowing that there are a million steps in between. So first, just enjoy the workouts, just build some muscle, and then automatically you get at a stage where you're actually able to go to a competition like that. So it should happen naturally, in my opinion.
And then there must have been a moment where it changed, like you won by accident, or you started by accident, but you don't get a pro by accident, and you don't get on the Olympia stage by accident.
Exactly.
So when did you change your mindset?
Well, when I won the first show and then the second show, both won the overall, which to me meant, okay, I literally beat everybody who came to that show. And that told me, and also by comments by others, that I could really be a force within the bodybuilding world, especially because I was very young and gaining muscle was pretty easy to me. I simply worked out hard. I didn't mind eating according to a nutrition plan, and I kept making gains. So I was like, well, okay, now I'm gonna really go for it. So I actually went from being a C competitor, because in the Netherlands you can be a D, C, B or A competitor, and being an A competitor means you're the highest amateur level. So I went from a C to a B to an A within 2 weeks in the Netherlands, and I did the Juliet Bergman Grand Prix Classic, which was the biggest show in the Netherlands, and then I won my junior class there, and that told me, okay, at 21 years old, winning that class already, being basically proclaimed the best junior bodybuilder in the Netherlands, means that I can really make this work, for maybe make a career out of it, or maybe really get to a very high level internationally. So then but I stayed in the Netherlands for quite long, until I wasn't a junior anymore, because I was junior until 23 years old, and from then you have to do the super heavyweights. So then I did one super heavyweight show, also the same show, but then 2 or 3 years later, and then I won the overall of the entire show again, the biggest show in the Netherlands. And but then, as I was already being more of a classical bodybuilder, I embraced being a classic bodybuilder. The classic physique class came for the first time in Europe, where
so everything just falls in place for you.
Yes, everything did. But I knew basically from winning the Flex Cup in the 2014, my second contest, that I really wanted to keep bodybuilding and do my very best. Because when you win an overall, you cannot really, you don't want to take a step back. You want to keep winning the most you can. So that's, I kept doing my best more and more and more to keep making that happen. So, you know, to win the overall at the biggest show in the Netherlands was a milestone for me, and it meant to me that I had a chance to win internationally as well. So that's when I did my pro qualifier for the classic physique class, and that's when I won that one, and then I won the pro show in Chicago and did the Olympia after that. So, and in the meantime, of course, a lot more people started following me and supporting me, and with my family, you know, going to all of the shows that I do, just creates an environment where you keep wanting to do good, because a lot of people are actually benefiting also from me doing well at the shows. So it's a really good combination of multiple things.
Very good. So oftentimes if success comes too easy for people, especially in bodybuilding, I don't know if it's especially in bodybuilding, but I know about bodybuilding. Oftentimes, if success comes too easy, people stop. I have seen so many talented guys stopping because they're not willing to go the last mile.
Yeah.
And you did, even though it was pretty easy for you. And then you just mentioned the Olympia 2018.
Yeah.
And that was the first time you got.
That was the first time I placed like very low in my life.
So the first time you maybe had started thinking about, is this the right thing for me, or?
Well, I realized at the Olympia I'm up against the best of the world, but at the same time I also knew this is not the shape that I can bring to the stage. So the placing I had wasn't reflective of what I can place at the Olympia. So I knew, okay, I won the Royal London Pro qualifier, I won the Chicago Pro, so I can compete with pro people and actually win. But at the Olympia, because it was the third show, actually the fourth show in a row, I simply couldn't bring the shape that I wanted to. So I placed much lower than I wanted to, and that kind of made me realize, okay, when you're up against the best of the world, you cannot make any mistake at all, because it will immediately show, because everybody is at their A game.
You did not have any doubt about bodybuilding at all, or
No.
Is it my thing, or?
It really was my thing. Still, I'm confident in that I can bring a shape to the stage. I can compete with the best in the world, and I believe if you're going to do the Olympia, that should be your mindset, because otherwise, why would you even compete with the best? Not for the experience, because you cannot just go there without making an enormous investment in terms of, well, financial first, a lot of time. The prep takes a lot of time, a lot of sacrifices. So you're not doing it for fun, but you're actually doing it because it's your passion, but also because you want to be number one in the world.
I can tell you, the first time is very different than the second time. Because the first time you can say that to yourself. I competed with the best.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was an experience, and maybe it didn't go that well. But the second time, it's a whole different game. So you skipped. I mean, you didn't have the qualification, but you did not try to get it for this year.
I didn't try.
So you skipped.
Yeah, I skipped it. I did the Arnold Classic after the Olympia, but I still, which was controversial a little bit, didn't get a placing that I wanted to. So I was like, okay, I simply have to make a very big change to my physique if they want to place me at least in the top 6. So I decided then to take more time off. And then I saw, okay, there's a show at the end of the year that I can do to qualify for the next Olympia. And then I really brought my A game to that show, focused on what they critiqued me on, the conditioning, without focusing on the fullness anymore, because I realized you have the muscle mass, just focus on conditioning, and then show up however you're going to show up, but just be conditioned. And that's what won me that show, and now I'm qualified again, and this time I will be able to bring a very different package to the Olympia than the previous time.
Yeah, when I saw you winning in Romania, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of, whew. He won, so because otherwise he would have come to Frankfurt. Right?
Yeah.
Was that your plan?
That we already booked the hotel and everything. So it was the planning to actually do that show, and I knew you would compete there as well. So I wasn't sure because I had the same feeling about you. I mean, we're both, of course, Olympia athletes already, and both. I'm not sure what. Sometimes it also depends on the judges sitting there, how well they know you, depending on. But I knew, okay, it's his home turf. It's a contest he won the last year, and he's very conditioned also, and he's also tall, so it's very comparable to me. So I was like, okay, then I have to really bring a superior shape to to make sure that I beat you, because you, in ranking, you're still a better bodybuilder than me because you placed higher at the Olympia. So I was like, okay, I then have to bring a very different physique. So honestly, I was happy that I won the Romania because I had no idea who was going to do the Romania show. When I saw the list, I didn't see any name I recognized, but I didn't look them up either. I just focused on bringing my best.
I mean, I saw the list from Frankfurt, and we talked about Mike.
Yeah.
Sommerfeld, and he wasn't on the list, and he was second. So
yeah.
oftentimes the most dangerous guys, they're not on the
The
list.
same thing happened to me. The guy who was second won his pro card the day before because it was
I
qualified.
had that last year, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the guy who actually won the second place.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the list either, so you're very right.
And I went to Italy. To be honest, I hoped to get my qualification in Italy, in Padova. It was like, I think two weeks after the Olympia, and there were like 4 or 5 people on the list. And then, Brion shows up.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
never rely on the list.
Nope. Never accurate.
So, obviously, next for you is the Mr. Olympia, and
Yep.
no other show planned?
No, my last time on stage was the guest posing I did at the William Bonek Classic, and after that I won't be showing my shape on stage anymore until the Olympia, because otherwise, when you have guest posings in between, you always in your mind have okay, I can't really go overboard because I don't want to make a fool out of myself on stage. So this time I'm just gonna focus on gaining quality weight, and ultimately your body fat percentage will go up a little bit when you have a long off season. You cannot stay in shape all the time. So I will not focus on staying lean every single month. Sometimes I'm going to be a little heavier, but that will be in combination with being stronger in the gym to really gain much more muscle mass in the weaker areas that I have to bring a different look to the Olympia, because otherwise it's not going to be different enough to be a higher placing there.
Okay. So, is there anything you will change for the upcoming Olympia, or anything new, or something you learned you have to change?
Well, I learned from actually prepping for the Romania Pro. My legs did improve compared to the last show I did in the Arnold Classic, and how I did that is basically, as normal as it sounds, basically sticking to the basics, which a lot of people are scared to do because they always think I have to do something special to make the legs grow or to make a weaker body part grow. But I simply will hit the legs harder, more frequent, and staying with compound movements, very heavy, and try to improve on that lift every single time I do that lift. So we have a belt squat here in this gym. I did back squats before with a barbell simply on my back, the old school exercise. But for some people, it's simply, especially when you're taller, it doesn't really hit the legs as much as you want it to, because the lower back will give out first. So I went really heavy on the back squats, but I simply realized, well, this works my core, my lower back, and the legs don't even feel that much pump. And I need to feel the same pump I feel in my upper body in the legs, because that's what made the upper body grow, and I need that in the legs. So doing other exercises like the leg press, the hack squat, and the belt squat, very heavy, sticking to a little higher reps to get more volume in there, has really worked for me. And simply progressive overload over time, that's what's going to work for me.
I started doing higher reps for legs after training with Tom Platz.
Yeah.
I did squats like in the 20-25 range, and it really helped my legs a lot.
Yeah, I stay at least at 15 reps, and for all the other sets before that, around 20 reps to really get fullness in terms of a pump in the legs, because they're so bigger muscles, such a big muscle group, that you need more volume to actually get that pump there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your body weight now is 118?
Yes.
What you said? Yeah. That's, maybe you have some viewers in the US, that's 260?
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Yeah. 250 something. Yeah. So what's the goal in terms of body weight?
It's always difficult to say, but I know I've weighed around 124 last time I was in a true off season, so I think I might actually almost hit 130 maybe. As long as if I get too soft, I will of course back down on the calories, but I gain weight quite quickly without even seeing much fat gain at the same time, because when I do a prep, I start at quite a high body weight, and I have to drop down quite a lot to get as shredded as I need to be. But it's always in the last few weeks that I only get under the body weight limit that I'm allowed to weigh. Because in the 2 weeks before, I still weighed 2 or 3 kilograms over the weight. Even though in the last 2 weeks you're not going to lose that much fat, it's only the water weight that you're going to lose. So I know that I can bring it up quite high and safely bring it back down. But I will reach a higher body weight this time because I want to use that for more strength in the gym. Of course, I'm going to do a lot of blood tests as well to make sure that the body weight isn't affecting too many health factors, because that's going to be the opposite of what you want. Health is always going to be number one. But I'm pretty tall, so I'm above 6'2" or 189 centimeters. So that weight for me would be a good weight. So for a smaller person, a shorter person, of course, that's going to be very heavy. But for me, it's quite good.
So the German fans or the fans from all over the world are going to see you at FIBO at 130 kilos.
That's possible, at least close to that. At least
it will be pretty impressive.
125 at least. That's what I'm going for.
And for the Olympia, you're heading for making the limit.
Yeah. I've never made the limit and actually stayed quite below it, like 2 or 3 kilograms below, which is a lot of muscle mass, as you know. So that's why I want to push my weight up higher to really add only those kilos of muscle mass to the weaker areas, mainly the glutes, the hamstrings, and the legs, and maybe the back a little bit, because only even 1 kilogram will make such a difference in fullness and completeness of the physique that that's my goal, to really reach that. But at the same time, I won't be stuck on trying to keep that weight there, because sometimes in the last few weeks, as I said, you might drop below it, but then don't try to eat more to try to stay around that weight, because conditioning wins the shows nowadays, and that's what I'm going for.
Okay. Irgendwelche Ideen?
Yeah. Who is, in your opinion, who's the greatest bodybuilder of all time? When you look into the whole package.
It's always hard to say if a real fan, like I am. It's like what's the best band, or what's the best car? You can, if you're into something, you can't give an easy answer to that, I think.
Exactly, because there's a lot of choices to make who the best bodybuilder is.
Yeah, because you have different decades and different body parts and styles and.
Yeah, but I think no one will be surprised if I say that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's my favorite bodybuilder, and maybe because it's a subjective sport, maybe that means it's the best for me. Because there is no objective best, but some people might be more complete. But Arnold simply had a stage presence and dominance that no one else could replicate, at least in that era. Because when he does a front double bicep or a twisting back bicep shot, no one can beat him in that pose. Even today, with the more muscle mass, they still don't look as good as Arnold did.
Yeah.
So, and that I draw inspiration from when I see those poses. I simply want to work more on the bicep peak. I want to have a bigger back and try to make the lats even though it's impossible, try to make them look like they insert lower, so to work on specific parts of the back to make that pose as complete as possible, because that inspires me to work harder on certain points in my physique. So, and of course, I don't want to be a copy of Arnold, but I want to use him as an inspiration to be the best that I can be. So I know that if I bring an Arnold physique to the stage, the legs are going to be too small. Yeah. So I need to create physique that's best for me, for this era, but with inspiration from the 70s from a bodybuilder like Arnold.
Yeah, that's the problem with the classic thing and the competitive thing. I mean, Arnold never had striated glutes.
Yeah.
So he could focus on having a big chest and big arms. But we have to have that, and that makes maybe your upper body smaller. So
yeah, that's exactly the problem that I keep having. Like 2 weeks after the show, I look, in my opinion, so much better, but I don't have those deep striations anymore in the quads or the hamstrings. But the upper body is so much more, preferable to people. I think when I see the upper body 2 weeks after the show is almost as conditioned, but a lot fuller, but you simply miss like 1 or 2% of body fat in the legs, or like a sheet of water that you only...
And I mean, let's be honest, a full biceps and full chest and everything looks better than a striated glutes.
I agree.
Everybody wants that, but I mean, objectively, it doesn't look really good.
No,
if you have
in my-
striated glutes.
That's true, but I think that's part of trying to make the sport more easy to judge, because they can say, "Oh, he has striated glutes and he doesn't." But back in the golden era, like it was like, okay, who do we prefer? And it was easy in Arnold's time because he was the biggest. He had the biggest upper body, so of course he's gonna win. But if two people show up with similar shapes and similar conditioning, and without any striations, it's going to be difficult to judge who is better. Then it's a true preference. But if someone with a superior shape comes, but who isn't conditioned, and one with a slightly less superior shape but very conditioned, the very conditioned guy is going to win because he objectively has deeper striations in his body parts, and that's better score nowadays in bodybuilding. So I think that's the reason for it a little bit.
Yeah, and also I think the judges are the judges. You know, they don't have like special judges for classic physique.
No, that's
the
true.
same judges, and they have been judging like this for the last 20 years maybe.
Yep.
So that's what they look up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but same thing here. I mean, I've been looking at Arnold photos since 25 years now. And still sometimes I have the pictures in my gym, and sometimes I walk to my gym and what the
How is it possible?
yeah, how is it possible?
Yeah.
I mean, many impressive bodybuilders, but still look at Arnold pictures and I think it's not possible.
Yeah, when you hear him talk also about how much he practiced to make that pose look unbeatable, like he's aware of everything in his body that he's doing, like the stance. Like I studied his posing by doing a YouTube video, putting it on slow motion on 25% of the speed, and then when you see him posing, you can see that it's not a random movement, but he starts with his fingers, then his arms and his back, and then the twist, everything moves in sync. And you can only do that if you practice it hours and hours every single day, and then you master it. And then he can still do it. I think a lot of people remember it when Cedric McMillan won the Arnold Classic. Cedric, out of the blue, asked, do a three-quarter back double bicep. He did it right then because it's just ingrained
It's
in
like
his
the
brain.
same proportion like on the sign in the background.
Exactly the same. So you cannot do that randomly. It's just a practice, and that's what a lot of bodybuilders nowadays do miss.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Impressive. That's what he was.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Or
we
is
talked
there
about-
anything left to say?
I don't think so. I think we covered quite a lot.
And we have it already officially. You will be at the FIBO 2020, right?
Yeah.
It's going to sell some tickets. You can
think
see
they're already
Wesley with us at 130 kilos. Almost 300 pounds.
Yep.
Dankjewel.
Geen probleem.
Dankjewel, ja. Ein Litzepilsje. Das kenne ich noch.
What?
Ein Litzepilsje? A small beer?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
a Litz- Is it Litzepilsje, right?
Yeah.
Lekker Maisje?
Lekker beetje.
That's what I know. Well, that's pretty much all. Okay, thank you very much for
problem.
having us.
You
It was,
too.
it was good talking to you.
Awesome.
And as Matthias said, you have to make it to FIBO.
I will.
They should send him an affiliate link to sell tickets.
Could be a good idea.